Oh my goodness, we are back. The Niners are 1-0, 1/17th of the way to a perfect season, Jason. That's better than half the league can say right now. New Sprint Right Option podcast starts now.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go, Niners.
Let's go, Niners. Sprint Right Option podcast. It wasn't really close. Niners beat the Steelers yesterday, 30-7. This is a new Sprint Right Option podcast. We're going to talk about all the fun details, everything you need to know. You know my name. It is Andrew Pasquini. And if you know my name, I'm pretty sure you know Jason Aponte's name. So I don't think I need to introduce him at this point. Jason Aponte, how you doing on this lovely Monday night?
Great. Could be worse. Could be way worse in terms of what could have happened in this game, but nothing really went bad. Andrew, I think your mic isn't set to the right thing as well either.
Interesting. I made sure. Hang on. Yeti. Is it not? Because I think I'm connected. Starting hot live. It says Yeti, so we should be good. Maybe my mouth isn't close enough. Starting hot. This is a live podcast. It's I never know what's gonna happen. Does it sound good now?
Sounds the same, but we got to move. So
that's interesting. Okay, well now I got to figure it out. We'll figure it out later. Hopefully it gets better at some point here. Jason, it was a relatively impressive performance. I didn't think it was going to be this easy. I think if you would have asked me 3 days ago when we were previewing this game with Melissa and Jarrett, would the Niners win this game by 23 points? I don't think that was in my realm of possibilities. I thought this was going to be a close game to a point where I even tweeted, if the Niners and Steelers, if there's a game to tie in week one, it feels like it would be Niners-Steelers. And that very much wasn't the case.
Yeah, there's not too much to complain about here in this game at all. You can nitpick and say, well, Colton McKivitz struggled with one of the most prolific pass rushers of all time. But I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Or you can just say the one touchdown drive was based on some soft cornerback play and some over-aggressive penalties. Other than that, it was literally perfect. I don't understand how anyone could walk away from this game without, obviously after week one, you're not going to sit there and say, well, my goodness, this team is ready to go, this, and that. But that's about as good a performance as a team that is expected to be a Super Bowl contender can put forward on the road in their first game without much preseason reps, without many preseason reps. Good God. And all 22 guys on defense, on both sides of the ball, they're healthy.
Yeah.
What else could you have asked for?
That was the big report to come out of today, and I feel like that's such big news. I think the Niners should just count as 2-0 at this point. That's a win within the win, and the only concern being the I believe it was Ambry Thomas, but he got cleared from concussion protocol today. So the Niners are 1-0. They are healthy, and they're going into a game that they probably should win, right? So now it really has been with the 49ers these past few years, especially with week one, is okay, just survive it. And that's something we've talked about for years now. And this game was technically over at the 4:38 mark in the first quarter, right? Jake Moody hits a field goal to go up 10-0. Pittsburgh scores 7 points all game. And it was just the weirdest feeling because you get into the second quarter and the Niners score pretty quick into the second quarter to go up 17-0. But it's okay, when is Pittsburgh going to get back into this game, right? Because it tends to happen. Even when the Niners were dominating in 2021 against the Lions, it was, they're blowing it. It never came. I don't think this game could have been any easier. And I honestly, outside of the Dallas Cowboys, I don't think that there is a team that would have beaten the San Francisco 49ers yesterday. And even then, the Cowboys just took 2 early mistakes from the Giants and just kind of ran with it there. So really just a very dominating performance that we're going to get very in-depth there in a minute.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's nothing to really complain about at all. I don't know. It almost feels too good. It almost feels like, when's the dagger coming? When are you pulling the rug out from under us? what, things are a little too quiet.
Yeah.
A little too quiet.
Yeah, and like that's why it's like, okay, like even I found myself thinking this morning, it's okay, well, this almost feels too nice. Like, when's the injury report come out? Like, there's got to be something that was missed. Like Trent Williams left the game for a play yesterday. That was kind of a hold your breath moment when he was on the ground. Maybe there's something more to that we didn't know or something. But no, injury report came back clean. Like, how can you be feeling unless like you compare what linebackers Brock Purdy threw to yesterday, like how could you be feeling negative about this game right now? And that's where I'm at. So let's dive into it. Just kind of to go through everything that happened yesterday, run through all the scoring plays. The 49ers opened up with a 7-play, 54-yard drive. Brandon Ayuk gets the first touchdown of the season. I'm sure we're going to mention Brandon Ayuk's name once or twice throughout this program. Jason Aponte. As I mentioned, Jake Moody goes down, makes it 10-0. The 49ers jump out that early lead. That ended up all they needed. Start of the second quarter, Jason, another Brandon Ayuk touchdown. This time it was a perfect throw. Almost perfect coverage by Patrick Peterson, but the catch was just as good. Some say that he needs to hop in this backwood after that play Patrick Peterson does. I don't know what that means. I just saw it on a tweet, Jason Aponte, but I wanted to use it before you got to say it. I wanted to be the cool one here. So Niners jump out 17-0. Jake Moody then makes it 20-0. The Steelers have their one pretty good drive of the game that's aided by a couple Niners penalty. Makes it 20-7 right before the half. The color commentator on Fox was trying to say that they need to play for a field goal here to take momentum into the second half. I don't know why. Christian McCaffrey then has essentially the play that really put the dagger into it, the 65-yard touchdown run, 27-7. And then Jake Moody tacks on a field goal in the fourth quarter, makes it 30-7. We don't get much chances to talk week one about how comfortable of a win was this. So, Jason, let me ask you this. When did you know, this game's over? Was it the McCaffrey run or was it something earlier?
No, I think it was the McCaffrey run, because of the way that sequence happened before the half, them scoring a touchdown. And you think, well, you got to come out and kind of put together a drive to knock everything off. Well, not only did you put a drive, you bullied them all the way down the field. Like Brandon Ayuk is running people over down the field as well, too. Like, I know that he got you a bunch of fantasy points yesterday, but imagine if you would have got points for blocks. So yeah, for me, that was it. I was just like, well, that's that. That was literally like choking off the last little breath that they had. And it was just more like, we know what's about to happen and this is it. And I can't remember the last time I chilled watching a 49ers game like that. Mm-hmm. Like where there's no worries, like never a doubt. Just sitting around like, hey, again, I don't know what to do. I feel like there's something, right? Like something has to happen, right? Like it just can't be like this. Like it doesn't make any sense.
No, it was my whole bit that I was going to have for the cold open. I was going to buy one of those staples that was easy buttons and just press it, but I couldn't get one here by today. So the bit there's the bit. I spoiled the bit, Jason Aponte. But yeah, so let's do it. People are here, position by position breakdown. We do this every game. Brock Purdy, 19 of 29, 220, 2 touchdowns. I really think my big takeaway, and this is where my brain goes when I think of football, Jason. I'm sure you're a little used to it by now. Maybe people aren't used to it for me yet. But if you were in a coma for the past year and you were told that, hey, the quarterback playing for the San Francisco 49ers is coming off 6 months removed of a pretty serious elbow injury, I don't think I'd believe you because he looked very comfortable. I think he even had a throw where his arm was hit and he seemed fine. There was some discomfort coming from TJ Watt, which is a conversation I guess we'll have in a bit. I'm not too worried about it. TJ Watt's pretty good. But other than that, Purdy looked comfortable. He had that one play where he sensed, I think it was Minkah Fitzpatrick coming off the edge, rolled out, hit Deebo Samuel. Purdy just looked very, dare I say, Purdy comfortable back there yesterday.
It was everything, man. Just the command of the offense. You would have thought this was his 5th season. The pocket movement, the just knowing where to go with the ball. And yeah, Patrick Peterson almost had an interception. That's fine. He still needs to hop in his backwood, which means we're smoking on that Patrick Peterson pack today. That's what I meant.
Thank you.
But for me, it's like I get why everybody is so excited about him. I get why the whole team is rallying around him. I get why there's all this confidence in him from the coaching staff. It's just that's why those things, right? Like the Pittsburgh Steelers. I want to make this clear. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not a bad football team. But the gap between the two teams is so large that it made them appear like they're a bad football team. But that was in no way a bad football team. The 49ers are just like that at this point. Like right, even though after week 1, like it's not time to overreact, but when you have a defensive line that's doing all of those things and you have them taking away the ball and the offense is executing and scoring 30 points again, there's not many teams in this league that are going to be able to beat the San Francisco 49ers. So it's more just about that's the last piece. And now you understand why everybody is so excited. It was like literally a carryover from last season. I thought I was watching one of those games down the stretch last year where everything was like so easy for him, man, like that Tampa Bay game. It just looked like that again. And that's it. I get it.
I don't know if this is the best way to put it. So, Jason, if I'm wrong, please tell me I'm wrong. To me, I think physically there's not much of a difference between Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo. I know we don't want to mention that name as much anymore. I know Purdy has a little more upside arm talent, as the kids like to say. I need to stop saying as the kids like to say. That's the second time I've said it this podcast. Shouldn't say it again. But something just feels different with Brock Purdy back there. And I don't know exactly what it is. We're taking requests. We're getting paid now for me to spin my wheel. Okay, getting a little weird out here. Thank you for the donation, Axel. It doesn't spin as well since I broke it. Like it broke one tip off. Anyways, but then there's this feel with Brock Purdy, and I don't know how to describe it other than that. So, am I the only one who has it? He feels like an NFL quarterback, right? Is that fair to say?
He feels like an NFL quarterback.
Nice. Yeah, and that's not a shot at Garoppolo or anybody or nothing.
No, he looks like a top 15 guy. Yesterday, like you could make that argument that he's a top 15 guy. He's not just a quarterback. That's different. Now, will that continue? We'll figure it out. But there is this line of thinking like, man, he probably still is learning and he's still going to get better and people are going to adjust and they'll have to adjust back. And that's all the optimism you should have right now at this point. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers is injured as well.
Aaron Rodgers is injured. I have the game on the other screen as well. Yeah, so he got walked off.
I'm trying to look at it right now, and what is it? What happened? That looked like a normal sack to me.
He limped off. I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe a leg, an ankle. I don't know.
Does he have a leg?
Does he have a groin? That's another question that people ask in football.
Does he have a leg? Does he have a knee?
I don't know. But yeah, I think I guess where I'm at with Brock Purdy is the best way to describe my feel with him is you watch him every week and maybe wait for him to come back down to earth a little bit. But it also has this feel of like, okay, what if he doesn't come back down to earth? Like what if this is just the floor to what his ceiling can be? And that's where I get excited. I know it's still a very small sample size, but there hasn't been a point yet with Brock Purdy where I'm feeling like, oh no, this guy is 23, 24. He needs to learn. He feels like the perfect quarterback for a Kyle Shanahan offense at this point.
I would have thought he was doing this for like 5-6 years. Yeah. Just commanding the offense, getting guys set, making the throws, stepping out of the pocket. I mean, that play in which Minkah Fitzpatrick is running at him free and he completely bails on him and then makes the throw to Deebo Samuel. And the ball placement on that was so good. Yeah, Deebo had to go up and jump and get it, but he put it out of harm's way. Just little stuff like that. The navigating the pocket, being able to step up, move through linemen, still keep his head upfield and throw the ball, not looking for running, like to run right away. But when it is time to run, he'll run. I don't know, man. I completely get it. I mean, not that I didn't get it, but I think if you were skeptical about like, well, why are they going to Purdy? Why? When it looks good, that's what it looks like. And that's why the team believes in him, the coaching staff believes in him, and all these guys are posting his picture all over their Instagram and everything. This is a feel-good victory. This has all the great vibes. For an offseason that had nothing but bad vibes, the vibes are immaculate right now based on how he played in this game.
Yeah, no, and it was also part like, okay, how does he look with the elbow? How does he look with the elbow? And there was really no indication that he looked any different than last year. And so that's where it is. So I guess if people weren't excited now, I think today is like the first day where it's maybe we need to start looking forward to seeing what Brock Purdy can become instead of worrying when is this ride going to end? Because
Right.
I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. And I don't know if you've heard this one. He was the last pick in the draft. He was drafted in 2022. Don't know if you've heard that one yet.
And that's the thing is, if he didn't look so good in this game, it's still not a reason to worry. And he's gonna have moments where maybe the game doesn't work for him, right? Like it's the NFL. There's games like that. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love for him to just be perfect like this all the time. But yeah, I mean, the whole process right now should be about watching him grow and knowing that there's probably still more for him to learn. There's still a little bit more. Oh, the car's coming out. Oh no. And there's still a little bit more for him to learn and for him to improve on at times. So I don't understand how like a guy who has like whatever 8 career starts, whatever it was, just looked like a guy who's been a 49er lifer. He just looked like everyone's listening. He's yelling at Trent Williams. He's yelling at this guy. And I think he even yelled at Kyle Shanahan. I think that's what Kyle likes about it. Like Kyle said something and he yelled right back at him or something like that. And I think that's Kyle kind of wants that. Kyle doesn't want you to get all scared when he gives you that. Like if you got something, go back at him. And I think that's another thing that they love about him.
Yeah, he's giving you all the feels, and that's exciting. I really think that this was the most exciting game that he could have had for people. It felt good, only sacked 3 times. Well, as I said, we'll get to that in a little bit. I think that's enough on the quarterbacks. Let's move to the running back position. And one of the questions I had is kind of Shanahan hasn't had a superstar running back yet in the 49ers system. So is he going to be more rotational or not rotational because you have Christian McCaffrey, but what's the carries going to look like with a healthy Christian McCaffrey and a healthy Elijah Mitchell? And I think we got that answer pretty quick. 22 carries, 152 yards for Christian McCaffrey and 1 touchdown. Elijah Mitchell, 5 carries for 10 yards, and then Deebo Samuel throws in 2 carries for 8 yards. Obviously, the big play of the game that Jason Aponte said that the game's over, was the 65-yard touchdown run that I think, not to give Jason Aponte more credit because he likes, getting his credit. You tweeted something out about how the Niners need to score a touchdown on this opening drive, just don't really let Pittsburgh get back into it, and Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk, because I think we need to mention Ayuk here a little bit as well. Is Ayuk really made that run not happen because McCaffrey hit the hole, but McCaffrey finds the hole, Ayuk gets the block, and from there it's a wrap. So I'll leave it at this point for Jason Aponte to pick up. Christian McCaffrey's pretty dang good at football.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a time when, how could you trade all those picks for him and you're never going to get value? Yeah, well, San Francisco 49ers have lost 1 regular season game with Christian McCaffrey. So I think we're all right. But really what I meant about what was going to happen out of the half was I wanted to see a good script, and I wanted to – I mean, flat scores like that, big scores quickly like that, that's fine. But I was thinking more like a nice little script, like some good plays, like. But
you heard first, Jason Aponte wants a 14-play 80.
I was looking for one of those Kyle. I was looking for one of those Kyle drives where it's like 32 plays, and it's just like and like he grinds them into submission, and then Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk do the rest. But that's another thing. Is like this offense has that capability when you have this many weapons. What we're kind of missing right here, too, and I want to make sure we talk about, because this is probably the most exciting part of the game for me. And this shows the ultimate confidence in Brock Purdy. First drive, 4th and 1. We're not punting the ball. We're going for it. Kyle Shanahan, I know you watch the Sprint Right Option podcast. Thank you. Thank you. When your team is better, when you have better weapons, when you trust your quarterback, you go for it on 4th down. Stop messing around and punting the ball or taking field goals. Step on people's necks. Thank you, Kyle Shanahan. I love you, buddy.
Are you not trying to say it's because he decided he has a rookie kicker and didn't want to try a 63-yard field goal? Or what was people saying? They were saying when they drafted Moody, maybe drafting the rookie makes him go for it more on 4th down or something like that. But obviously
I was so mad on that one where they punted from like the 50. I'm like, I was like, okay. I was like, we're gonna punt. You couldn't just bring Moody out and let him. I mean,
yes, it was the 4th and 15. Pittsburgh's 42, 133 left in the second quarter. Niners, it would have been a 59-yard field goal. And my instant reaction was, and Jason, you would have been so proud. What the hell are we using the 99th pick for on a guy if we're not trying a 59-yard field goal up 20-7 or 20-0 in the second quarter?
If I'm using a top 100 pick, that means he's got on the field range. On the field range. What does that mean? It's like Steph Curry has in the gym range, right? He can take it from the other free throw line. If I take a top 100 pick with a kicker on the field range from the other 20, from the other end zone, let's go, buddy. Let's figure it out.
If he was taken just 2 picks later, which I think was the Niners pick also, Jason Aponte couldn't use if we're using a top 100 pick, makes it so much worse sounding than 99. That's 100.
That is the definition of cherry picking. I choose where this conversation is and where I'm taking it from, and that's literally what it is, honestly. So, it was fine. That game was already in hand. I understand why they did it. By the way, I really thought on that blocked field goal, the one that didn't count, I thought Mitch Wisnowski was about to pull out some rugby moves, man. I didn't know. Dude. I mean, what do you like not giving Mitch the ball? Like, is Mitch another weapon? Like, is he another Yak Bro or something like that? Like, get him the ball and get him in space?
He was going for that edge, and I was like, I hope he runs through something.
I thought he was going to spin.
I thought he was going to do something, and then he just kind of like went out of bounds. I think he must have known that because he was the blocker of the field goal was very offsides on that play. So maybe he saw it, maybe he knew it. But I was hoping some Mitch Wishnowsky like spin cycle, some Deebo Samuel style run to where we're talking about, hey, maybe the next offensive weapon is punters. Use more top 100 picks on punters.
Dude. The thing is too is I'm like, oh my God, if he gets the first down, they can decline the penalty. And it doesn't matter and just take the first down. Like, I'm just like, Mitch, fight for that extra yard, dude. Like, let's go, man. I thought rugby players was super tough.
I guess not. Punters, not though, Jason. So that's where you get it mixed up. Receivers. Dare I say Keith Murphy, the unbeaten. Thank you very much for the donation. Smoking on that Patrick Peterson pack. And hey, that's a great time to bring that up because Jason, receivers, Brandon Ayuk has arrived. If last year was not the arrival, this year, 129 on 8 receptions on 8 targets, 2 touchdowns. I believe it was a career high. I looked it up yesterday. It was a career high in receiving yards for Ayuk. I'm feeling good as somebody who's been saying on this podcast since 2020, if there is a true number 1 receiver talent on this offense, it is Brandon Ayuk. And that catch was all I needed to see. The second touchdown. Obviously, putting Patrick Peterson in a spin cycle is great and all. We enjoy that. But that's just such a good physical catch. And not only good catch, but getting both feet in bounds as he did. Brandon Ayuk is here. He's here to stay. They've freed up $41.5 million in cap space. If 40 and half of that doesn't go to Brandon Ayuk, I don't know what we're doing here, man. Brandon Ayuk is him.
That second throw from Purdy was an absolute dart. That's a dart. We haven't seen a throw like that.
No.
As 49er fans since like Steve Young.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing was he couldn't have walked it over and placed it better. Like, look, we're making fun of Patrick Peterson and trust me, we're going to continue that this entire show. But that man was in perfect position. Like, what else did he need to do? Like, he couldn't do anything else. And it was just right where it needed to be. And then to get both feet down. I think the first one is the dirtiest, man. That is – it was so bad that he was worried that he was going to hit outside, that he literally fell to his knees. And then the best part is you look over at the other Steelers defensive back, and – he just walked right over and just patted him on the head, like, "Hey, man, it's all right, bro." Like, that's it. Like, he's just like, "Hey, look, let's go get him next play." Like, he wasn't upset. He was just like, he needed some comforting right there. Like, get that man some milk.
It was one of those like, hey man, it happens. Hopefully the cameras didn't really catch it that well, but it's the NFL, so there's 900 cameras on everything, and we saw that in 4K. And yeah, I mean, I guess the best way to describe it is the first touchdown was like an and one mixtape, and the second touchdown was an NBA highlight. The first one had that pizzazz, but the second one was only an NFL player makes this type catch, makes this type throw, and I love Brandon. I don't know if I've said this, Jason, enough. I love Brandon Ayuk. I think he might be my favorite player on the San Francisco 49ers. And for him to have a game like he did, it feels good. I don't know what it is about Brandon Ayuk compared to like Debo Samuel or Kittle or the other superstars that this team has. Ayuk just like, maybe it's just because he's the one that feels like he gets forgotten, right?
Right.
Like he gets forgotten when you talk about these Niners weapons. And I think there's a case to be made that Brandon Ayuk is the best receiver on this team. But yet he's the one to be forgotten. Vishal, Brock at the podium. The second TD was that Patrick Peterson, and a sly smile, LMAO. He was definitely calling Pat Pete out. Oh, definitely. Because when you say, hey, because like here's my thing. It's different if Pat Pete says, I'm feeling good. I am physically feeling good. I guarantee an interception on Sunday. That is significantly different than Niners offense has a tell. I know what they're doing. I'm going to get an interception because you're just setting yourself up for failure. And that's what he did because he was going to get an interception and all he got was 4 for 6 for 46 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 pass breakups. That's all Pat Pete got.
Yeah, and you know what, man? Maybe the conversation changes if he brings in that one throw, but, you know, you got to make your opportunities when you get them. So, I mean, he kind of alluded to that after the game and everything. It wouldn't have been an issue. I made this point on the post game. Nobody knew that Patrick Peterson was on the Steelers until Patrick Peterson said that on the podcast. I genuinely had people on Twitter saying, I literally had no idea that Patrick Peterson was a part of that team. And the only reason we knew was because you decided to say, oh, they have tells. And then he doubled down on, yeah, they still have the tells. Well, tell this, you got smoked. So I just think it's funny. It's just like for me, I want to make sure I maintain this as well, too. Patrick Peterson is a Hall of Famer. Patrick Peterson is one of the best cornerbacks who's ever played the game. But Patrick Peterson absolutely got to hop in this backward after talking crazy like that. Like that is, I mean, I'm sorry. All 3 of those things can be true. All 3 of those things can be true. So, I mean, that's just it. It's just, again, I don't understand what it is about people when they face the 49ers that they think that they can just say this, say that, you know, like, oh, well, you know, kind of poke the bear type thing. And it's like, dude, maybe just don't put a target on your back, because if they asked Brandon Ayuk, was it nice to get that touchdown on Patrick Peterson? And he said, yeah, it was. They all heard. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Like literally no one knew you were going to be on the field aside from like you and your family and hardcore Steelers fans. And yet now everyone on the field knows. Like it was your fault and there's nobody to blame but you. And you just got to hold this out. That's all. So that's it.
Yeah, no, Pat Pete got cooked is what it is. We're used to it though. We've seen him. What is it? He's had I don't have the exact number. He has a lot of games played against the 49ers since he played for the Cardinals, and he has 0 interceptions. I don't know why he thought that was going to change yesterday. It did not. Just to wrap up the receiving room, Debo Samuel 5 receptions for 55 on 7 targets. George Kittle 3 receptions on 6 targets, and Juwan Jennings 0 for 0 on 1 target. Let's get to that offensive line. The offensive line held up pretty well. 3 sacks were allowed, all 3 against TJ Watt, all 3 against Colton McKivitz. Listen, if I know Colton McKivitz was a concern entering this season. I think if you looked at the Niners offensive line, there's an obvious weak link. Let's just get that out of the way now. If this game is used to further that idea that Colton McKivitz is not good, you have an agenda. Because TJ Watt, I don't know if you know this, Jason, very good at football. He would have made any right tackle look silly yesterday. He was a man on a mission. So I don't necessarily want to rip Colton McKivitz. I put him down as a loser yesterday because when you write an article called Winners and Losers, you need a loser, and that was the easiest one to go to. But in terms of judging him on who he is as a right tackle, find a new slant. I don't think that this is the game to say Colton McKivitz is bad and this is why, because it's TJ Watt.
From a fan base that watched Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers prop up Tom Compton to the point that you thought he was better than Mike McGlinchey, this should not have you panicked. This is not the thing to and I don't know, like I might be like jumping out on a limb here. I might be, going a little crazy. Let me know. I'm trying to stay level-headed. But I don't think TJ Watt plays for any of the other teams that the 49ers are going to be facing for the rest of the year. I mean, the man is a generational pass rusher. And I don't throw that around lightly, but when you look at his production, the sack record, and when he's on the field and plays, he literally gets all the sacks. He's incredible. It's okay. NFL players are NFL players, but there's sometimes that you look across from you and that player's better than you. And that's just what happened. I think anybody who's at least a little dialed in knew that was probably not going to go Colton McKivitz's way. And it didn't. And that's fine. But the thing is, when you're doing everything else right, when your defense is allowing 1 yard in like the whole first half, basically, when you're scoring points at the clip that they were, and Brock's getting the ball out early, it's not going to be that big of a deal. So the issue with Tom Compton was when they're ahead and they're running the ball, they can stay flexible with play action and ways to mask him being there, right? But when you're losing and you have to go into straight dropbacks, that's maybe when you'll see the issue with Colton McKivitz because it'll be drop back after drop back, and it's very predictable. But as long as the 49ers stay in favorable game scripts, this is not going to be anywhere near the issue that people believe it will be. Now, sure, there'll be games where, there's going to be a great edge rusher up against them. There's many of them in this league. It feels like an amazing time for all the edge rushers. And also, don't discount the fact that TJ Watt has been hearing all about Nick Bosa's deal and Nick Bosa. TJ Watt was like, I was injured last year. Did you guys forget about me? So all that stuff was motivating, but this is nowhere near as big of an issue as I believe people are taking it, because people are just like, I'm so concerned. It's something that you're going to have to deal with all year based on the fact that there's going to be good edge rushers. But you have to understand that when game scripts are positive and you're going in the right direction on offense, you're not going to have to worry about dropping back 30 seconds. And to tell you the truth, the 49ers play discrepancy, it wasn't all running. They were throwing that thing around the yard yesterday. And so, I mean, it never turned into a big issue because Brock's getting the ball out on time. Brock has his capability. The offense was moving in the right direction. All of those things matter. If you focus only on the bad reps with Colton McKivitz against TJ Watt, you're going to get yourself upset. And there's no reason to do that because they did not impact the game in any way. They didn't.
No, and I think there's a case to be made that Burford had a worse game. Not people talking about that. 4 pressures allowed, only 1 fewer than Colton McKivitz. But he was also called for 3 penalties. But everybody's going to talk about McKivitz because it's a position that was heavily disagreed upon with the last player who was there, and Mike McGlinchey. And now it's this. I mean, I even saw a tweet that was like, oh man, like they thought this guy was going to be good. He wasn't even better than McGlinchey. And it's like, well, yeah, Mike McGlinchey's better than a lot of people gave him credit for. And now you might see what this looks like, but we'll see. I'm not judging Colton McKivitz based off of this one performance. I thought the offensive line was very good yesterday. Purdy was pretty clean outside of those 3 sacks. And I don't know what else you could ask for against a pretty talented Pittsburgh defense that the Niners dominated pretty easily yesterday. So that gets us through the offense, Jason. I feel like now is as good a time as any to remind the people that if you're new to this podcast, this is a great time to subscribe to Jason Aponte's YouTube channel. You get instant reaction. You get State of the Franchise, which I don't think people talk enough about, is one of the best shows on 49ers Twitter, on 49ers YouTube. Brad Graham, Jason Aponte. I have to say that Andrew Pasquini and Jason Aponte is my favorite 49ers Twitter duo. But if I couldn't say that, it would have to be Brad Graham and Jason Aponte. So make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, not just for the Sprint Right Option podcast, but for everything else Jason Aponte does. If you are listening to the audio, because I'm making sure I'm getting that audio up. I haven't done that in a month, and that's on me, and that's okay. But if you're listening to the audio, make sure you subscribe here as well. Jason, allow me to be the first to set the conversation. Did Nick Bosa restart the edge rusher market for Drake Jackson?
No, but he restarted the agenda that I'm about to start pushing about Eric Armstead.
Yep. Go ahead. I want to hear it.
Eric Armstead was the one who really got that first sack. He got literally tackled by the offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
And then Drake Jackson finishes it.
Mm-hmm.
Javon Hargrave and Eric Armstead run a stunt. And now you're running for your life, and Drake Jackson's there. Literally what I was telling you about the fact that Nick Bosa, all he has to do is be on the field and keep everybody in their position where things are going to cascade down. And it cascaded down to Drake Jackson. Great showing. 3 sacks, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I think there's some ridiculous number floating out there. 28 pressures on the dropbacks from the entire defensive line. I mean, Javon Kinlaw beat somebody so bad on a rep that he thought it was a screen and he stopped. Like, he was just like, what the? He's like he started looking around thinking like, oh, they let me through, like how they usually do with the screen so they can get downfield. I don't think that the offensive line for the Steelers is so bad. No. But my God, you can't walk away and not be impressed by everybody on this defensive line. And even Javon Hargrave joined the show and everything as well, too. Look, nothing against Drake Jackson. I'm not trying to take away what he did. But so many of those sacks and pressures and everything were coming from the middle. And Armstead and Hargrave are literally the best interior duo in the league. And I won't have any argument.
I like that. No, yeah, let's not discuss that. That's a fact. It's a fact of life. It is what it is. Just get over it, people who disagree. And that's really the importance of Nick Bosa and why maybe I'll hands up the conversation of the edge depth. Maybe not too big of a concern, considering we saw what they did. Nick Bosa was the highest graded player on the 49ers defense yesterday, according to PFF. I like that one, so I'm going to agree with PFF, but we're going to get to a PFF grade at the next position group that I'm going to disagree on, PFF grades are pointless. But Drake Jackson, 5 pressures. Eric Armstead, 5 pressures. Nick Bosa, 4 pressures. Hargrave, 3 pressures. Kinlaw, 2 pressures. It's coming from every direction. It really is. That's where this pressure is coming from. And that's why I think the Hargrave signing, obviously people were excited. Obviously people were very excited. I'm not saying Hargrave was this under the radar signing, but people were very excited about it because this is the first time we're seeing what an interior pass rusher looks like on this defense. And if yesterday was anything to say about that, well, I'm feeling pretty good about the next 16 football games for the 49ers.
Yeah, and I mean, when you start to hear Nick Bosa say, I don't know, maybe this defensive line is going to be better than the 2019 version. I don't know if we can say that definitively or right away, like right now after one game. Mm-hmm. But that was always kind of my inkling too, like if Drake Jackson could take another step, because I think people forget that 2019 defensive line, Buckner, Armstead, and as much as people get mad, D Ford was incredible.
Mm-hmm. When he was on the field.
Right. I had a feeling that this line, while it may not be able to be as top heavy and as good as that line, because D Ford, I would say at that point in his career, it was better than Drake Jackson. Mm-hmm. It's probably deeper. Yeah. Like it's probably deeper if you have Javon Kinlaw there at the end. You have, Givens and you have Kerry Hyder getting a sack. Like the depth is what maybe he was talking about. I have to go back and listen to it, but I was never trying to contend that 4 could beat that 4 from 2019. What my contention always was the depth and how much they have and how many times Austin Bryant, how many guys they can bring, Cleveland Farrell, how many guys they can bring at you all the time and can continue to apply pressure without having Nick Bosa on the field for 100% of the snaps or being able to move guys in and out.
I feel like your description of the pass rush just right there is you're talking about how deep it is. And as you're talking longer, you're remembering more names. And that's kind of what it is. It's like, oh, yeah, they have Cleveland Farrell. And, oh, yeah, they have Austin Bryant. And, oh, yeah, Kerry Hyder was really good 3 years ago with the nine. And that's – I think that's the ultimate compliment is like there's so many names that, like, you forget how deep this group is. So I'm really excited to see what this pass rush can offer the rest of the season. Linebackers, and this is where I'm going to disagree with a grade. Fred Warner was the lowest graded 49ers defender yesterday. I thought he had a really good game. 54. Andrew Pasquini, the AP grade was 100 for 57 and 54 because I felt like 57 and 54 were in on every tackle. The AP grading of the linebackers. He had I don't know how many linebackers are making pass deflections 20 yards down the field leading to interceptions. Fred Warner is one of those guys who's doing that. I thought it was a pretty good game from both linebackers. Like apparently PFF disagreed.
Who cares?
Who cares, man?
I follow. I met somebody at the combine. His name is Corey Kinnan. He's a great guy. He actually covers the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns defense literally had the Cincinnati Bengals in hell yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going through the PFF grades, and Denzel Ward's got like a 52, and JOK's got a 56, and he's just like, the question that he's asking is, who's charting this? I love using PFF for hashtag fits my narrative.
Yep.
But come on, man. Let's watch the games. Let's watch the games, and if you can see that someone's dominating, I don't need a PFF grade from someone. And remember, I told you guys, I've explained it a few times, and I'll go about it one more time about like how PFF grades are, how they're created. Is there are a bunch of Brees almost took that to the crib. They have people who do the grading on a scale of each play from -2 to 2. So the -2 is like essentially throwing an interception in the red zone as a quarterback, and the 2 is like the helmet catch from the Patriots game, like the best play of all time.
So it's probably a lot of 1s, 0s, and 1s.
Right, or you could get like a -1.5 or a -1 or a -0.5 or a -0. It's anything from -2 to 2. And that's how, and then once this person charts the entire game, they send that grade to a board of people at PFF, former coaches, former scouts, and they aggregate that grade. Mm-hmm. So what you see, what I see, what you know is going on with the defense, what is actually supposed to be happening as far as your responsibilities is not always there. So someone sees a play and they're just like, oh my God, like he completely blew it. No, he's running robot technique where he's running back to take the crosser and they ran play action. If you're not aware of all that stuff, you're just going to make stuff up and you're just going to say, oh, he got beat there. That's probably my biggest gripe with that, is like, to work as a data collector for PFF, you really just have to be good with like understanding like numbers. And it has less and less to do with actual responsibilities on the field and things that are supposed to happen on defense.
Yeah, I guess the best way to describe it too, and how subjective, I get objective and subjective mixed up all the time, how subjective it is. I believe I saw Justin Fields finish with a higher grade yesterday than Jordan Love. And to me, like, I passively watched that game because I had Dolphin Albert over, and that game, you want to talk about a good football game. What a game. But the eye test just doesn't tell me that Justin Fields was better than Jordan Love yesterday. And so, the PFF grade, Jason, I love that both you and we just have the same thing. Like, when it supports our narrative, PFF grade is very important. But we disagree with it a lot too. It shouldn't be an end all be all. So linebackers are fine, man. I'm not too worried about it. Whatever. The grade's the grade.
If Fred picks that off, then you've got to call mercy rule. Yeah. Like if Fred takes that, just mercy rule. Just get him off the field. Just get them all off the field. The game's over. Let's not have anybody injured. Everybody off the field.
Madden suggesting that the Steelers quit because, like, hey, we might have messed up and put you against too good of a team.
Your opponent has left the match.
Yeah. Secondary. 2 interceptions. Really a dominating performance here as well. Diamador Lenore, I guess, would be the weak spot. 8 receptions allowed on 9 targets. He had a couple of penalties, but it's kind of the Spencer, or not the Spencer Burford, wow, I'm totally drawing a blank on the right tackle, Colton McKivitz. There we go. It's the same thing. Like, it's tough. Like, Pittsburgh has 2 really good receivers. And also, like to me, obviously the second half, the second quarter drive where Pittsburgh scored, Lenore had a couple of penalties. I felt like the Niners secondary kind of laxed off in the second half. I feel like there's a lot less pressure on them in the second half. So maybe that's a lot of where this came from. I thought the secondary played as good as you can. I don't know if this is a surprise, Jason, but I think the defense as a whole played as good as they could. So I'm not going to have too many negative notes here. When Pittsburgh has 1 yard halfway through the second quarter and they get their first down with 1:16 left in the second quarter, it was a pretty dominating performance. Diamador Lenore did lead in tackles. I don't like tackles as a CB stat. I don't want my CB to having a lot of tackles because that means he's giving up a lot of catches. It's kind of like Russell Westbrook's triple-double thing. Like, point guards shouldn't be getting rebounds necessarily. I don't like my tackles being made by cornerbacks, so that one I'm kind of give or take on.
Or your run defense is leaking and they're getting to that level where the cornerbacks have to get in there too. So, yeah, that's not the best. I'd rather
safety and cornerback tackles are not good.
No.
Well, they're good because you're not giving up touchdowns, but they're not good to have a lot.
I mean, if they're TFLs, like I'll take that, but like I'm not trying to just have tackles. Yeah. Like, you know, like that's not what I'm signing for.
Shout out Talanoa Hufanga, by the way, for
good clean hit in the middle over there on Pat Fryer move. Oof.
Oh yeah, that hit. No, I was talking about the rugby pitch, the attempted trying to get the extra.
Talk about that. That was a lateral.
It was forward. It was so it's one of those so it's one of those things where because they're moving forward so fast, it looks like it's backwards because Gibson never surpassed Hufanga, but if you watch the path of the ball, he definitely throws it forward. But Jay, did you watch that play in the All-22 yet? Have you watched that? Yep. Did you get a feel that maybe was intentional because Gibson never really seem to try and get past Hufanga. And I'm curious to see if maybe the next time the Niners get an interception where they have a bit of a run, kind of see if there's a guy hanging out behind the player, because I could see that being some interesting thing that Steve Wilkes as a cornerback coach is trying to implement, because you saw it worked. I mean, they got an extra 30 yards out of it. I mean, obviously it was a forward pass, but they got an extra 30 yards out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's all we're gonna nitpick right now. Like, and not you. I'm just saying, like, there's nothing. Like, it's so hard to analyze this game because nothing went wrong.
It's so much easier to talk about bad games than good games because all we're doing is sitting here and saying, "Well, yeah, that went well." Like, how many different ways can we say the Niners beat the shit out of the Steelers yesterday? How many different ways can we say it, Jason?
Yeah, it was easy.
It was easy. Relatively easy win for the Niners. Let's hope more of them come up. Jason, let's get to 3 stars, shall we? 3 stars. Yeah. 3 stars. Everybody's favorite part of the podcast. I'm gonna go 3rd star. Oof, man, I have like 3 players who could be. You're gonna pick me up, Jason. I trust you. Tarvarius Ward, 3rd star. 1 reception, 6 targets, an interception. He was pretty good yesterday. I'm gonna give him the 3rd star. There's 14 players we could choose for the 3rd star. I'm gonna go Moody Ward.
Yeah, and I don't want to step on your toes because I feel like we're all going to pick the same people. I mean, you could just take 3 guys off the offense and now it'll be fine too as well. But Eric Armstead, you're back. And you're back. And anybody who is worried like, I don't know what he is and we pay him too much, stop it. The man's an impactful force anytime he's on the field and he's healthy. Welcome back to the conversation, Eric Armstead. Good to see you, buddy.
Love Eric Armstead. This is a very pro Eric Armstead podcast. I'm going to go Christian McCaffrey, my 2nd star. I don't know if that's going to be too far off from you. 22 carries, 152 yards. The play that put the game away, he looked like Christian McCaffrey. That's really the biggest compliment you could give Christian McCaffrey at this point in his career.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, good one. I'm going to go Brandon Ayuk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, hey, buddy, we've always known it's your time, man. Go get paid. Pay that man all that money. But yeah, man, Brandon Ayuk, it's been a pleasure watching you grow. It's been a pleasure to watch this film over and over, by the way. Like, it's just so good. Like, I'm just like, man, he is setting this guy up with outside leverage, using this stuff to get open. The man just knows how to get open, dude. It's incredible, man.
He's good. He's very good.
He's very good at football.
Dare I say he's my number 1 star, Brandon Ayuk. For everything Jason said, he was the best player on the football field yesterday. I think for as many dominating performances as the 49ers had, there was no player better than Brandon Ayuk was. And I think that's a fact. That's not even, I think that's objective, not subjective. Brandon Ayuk, my number 1 star.
Brandon Ayuk's your number 1 star. My number 1 star.
Brandon Ayuk's yeah.
Brock Purdy.
Okay.
Brock Purdy. We left the door open for you to be a little bit rusty. We left the door open for you to be somebody who had been recovering from an injury, and you look like none of that. You didn't even look like a guy who was going into like his under 10th start or 11th start, whatever it was. You look like the guy that's been here for 5-6 years. You look like the next guy. You can look at the throws, you can look at everything else and be excited about that. You can look at the way the offense is being operated. Mm-hmm. But there's something about the feeling you have watching Brock Purdy under center and watching him play that you haven't had in a long time. And no disrespect to Jimmy Garoppolo, who, by the way, as I predicted, was going to lead the Raiders to their first victory immediately in the first game after all those Raiders fans popped all that shit about him. Way to go, Jimmy Wheels. Way to close it out. You find a way to win games, don't you, buddy? But there is no uneasiness anymore. There's no uneasiness. No, it does. There's just a feeling of confidence. Mm-hmm. And I think the team feels it. And I think all of those things are true. It's just you always feel like he's under control. You always feel like he's going to, regardless if he makes a mistake, is going to figure it out. Like, and he just looks like the guy. Like him yelling back at Kyle Shanahan was like, it was like kind of like the moment for me where I was like, like he's definitely like taking this thing over. Like, no wonder he's a captain. No wonder this team loves him. I don't think it's ever going to be discussed again until barring something, catastrophic or something like that. But my God, Brock Purdy, you look like the guy, man. And just you might give us the thing that we've been looking for forever. Just a guy. We just want our guy.
He looks like an NFL quarterback. Like that's like the highest compliment I can give him. And that's not to say that Jimmy doesn't look like an NFL quarterback, but he gives you this feel. And I don't know how best to describe it. We're feeling good about where Brock Purdy is. We're feeling really good where the Niners are 1-0. They got a game with the Los Angeles Rams, who surprised a lot of people 1-0. So we'll see how they look against the upper echelon of the NFC West.
Can we laugh a little at Seattle?
Yeah. I love that laugh. I love it when Jason pulls out the that laugh. That laugh is my favorite.
The Joker laugh, because I'm Joker in our thumbnail.
Yes, exactly.
Look, week one is funny, right? Week one's real funny. It's the weirdest week. It's like the week that you don't really want to like predict or anything like that. Anything like that. It's always the hardest to do. But you tell me that Cooper Kupp's not going to play in this game. The Los Angeles Rams are going to start Kyron Williams, and Cam Akers is going to have, I think he has something like 22 carries for like 27 yards. Some ridiculous, terrible stat. Puka Nacua, who is not if you didn't know his name, now you do. And then it's really good because he was getting a lot of hype at the combine and for good reason. But Seattle, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You have to be ashamed of yourself. Yeah. I had a discussion on Twitter with someone who said that the Rams have the worst roster in the NFL. And I said the Arizona Cardinals exist. Yeah. And they said, no, it's the Rams. I'm like, no, the Rams have Matthew Stafford, Aaron Donald, still Cooper Kupp.
I think just based off the idea that the Rams weren't having a conversation between Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune, the Rams have a better roster.
And the Arizona Cardinals literally lost all their best players. Zach Allen gone. Like everybody gone. Like you lost Hopkins. The Cardinals are literally, they tried their best to like mess up their chances to get Caleb Williams, but it's just for the Seattle Seahawks to lose to the Los Angeles Rams at home in week 1.
By 17.
That's gross. And we're laughing at you.
I mean, to be up 13-7 at halftime and finish with 13 points at home, not good. And if Jim Everett or marketing pro are here, this is how much we don't like the Seahawks. We're hyping up a Rams win over the Seahawks. But that's not going to be the case this weekend, Jason Aponte, because next time you're going to see us is going to be this Friday, 5:15, to preview 49ers Rams battle for first place in the NFC West. Niners have a chance. Dare I say, Niners have a chance to go pillar to post here with the NFC West with the 1-0 start. They might be at the top of the NFC West week 1 to week 18. Maybe we'll see. Future will tell us that, Jason.
Yep. But Seattle, I just messaged to you guys. Don't bring that weak shit when you face the 49ers. Do not bring that weak. And DK Metcalf, get it together, buddy. Keller Weatherspoon had you in hell and you had to hit him and hurt him? Like what is going on, dude? You guys imploding after week 1? You'd love to see it.
1 week. We'll see what the rest of the season looks like, though, as the 49ers 1-0. As I said earlier, Jason, we will be back Friday, 5:15 p.m. Pacific time to break down that game. I'm sure we're going to have a familiar name or two in the comments for that episode. I'm excited. It's Rams week, baby. Rams week, baby.
Rams week.
Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners, baby. 1-0 feels good.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.